Welcome, ladies and gents. It's finally time for the final series of Age of Empire 4's Pro League 3 versus 3 tournaments qualifier. That's right. It's come down to this. 2 matches going on right now. We are going to be following the 3D clan up against Beasty and the Straelboraas, and it begins here on Dry Arabia in this best of 3. Let's get underway. So in we go into the depths of Dry Arabia that has been claimed many a time by an aggressive composition. And in this, we will get aggression on both sides, but we have a curveball already out of the gates, and I'm not surprised it is this man doing it. 3DB with the first China pick we've seen on Dry Arabia. Now, this was experimented with quite a bit in the show matches. In a lot of practice, a lot of teams have been trying to field China on these open maps. And you know what? I'll be bluntly honest. So far, it has not worked at all. It has completely backfired, in fact. But 3DB, he's that type of specialist. He could pull this off. I've seen this guy do miraculous things, very greedy plays when you wouldn't expect it, other times overly aggressive and getting away with it. The world's this guy's oyster, or cloister. Or I don't know what kind of stir you're serving it in. But either way, he's proven that it belongs to him time and time again. And I'm excited to see if he can do exactly that here. But he has got quite the Leviathan from the challenge. When we look on the other side, it is going to be up against the Muslim, Recon, and Beasty. These guys playing the patented solution right now, or the standardized solution for 3v3s, right? France, Rus, and Mongols, and these guys are spooky. These guys have multiple accounts each in the top 100. They are far from a pushover, so it is going to be an uphill battle, especially considering that the 3D team is made up of a combination of 3DB, the pro player, and then apparently Garnath, a.k.a. Nikolai, too long to read fully if you're looking here without me scrolling, is basically a good friend of B's. And then rounding out Sub-Zero is the team studios manager. They are all competent players, though. They're all within the top 300, 3DB, in fact, being higher. Bear with me one sec. I just noticed that we're getting a little bit of lag. I can probably fix that. I just realized that my Windows has had a heart attack and decided to basically eat up all of my hard drive space. So bear with me a sec, guys. Should only take a moment to delete 1,000,001 things. Delete Age of Empire. Wait, no. Yeah. Excited to see how this is going to go, considering that curveball. Let's talk a little bit about what China can do in this type of matchup. They aren't completely helpless. Remember that China has a really big power spike around Zhugnu, but it is somewhat predictable. The bigger deal is to utilize supervision to get the efficiency of 3 buildings out of 1. It is a very powerful element to China's arsenal that we see players usually utilize to get their hands on a fast Zhugnu army or ramp up into hard clock tower siege weapons quickly, produce them every like 10 seconds. The other option, of course, can be into going for like scout spams, so you're able to get that out quickly. But I don't expect him to cover that. I think when we look at the team and we think about the composition, Sub-Zero should be providing the economy for his other teammates via pro scouts. I think it's always a messy affair when you have multiple teammates going for pro scouts. It tends to backfire more often than not because you step on each other's toes, and also it's just not efficient in the early game. Apologies for that. We're still crapping out a little bit. I am in the middle of uninstalling, so bear with me a sec. I think I need a fresh install of Windows entirely. Okay, we should be... Are we safe from lag? Not yet. This is like the worst time for this to occur. I'm looking through the files right now. I think... Let me just check C drive. I'm definitely going to have to clean and install Windows soon. Yes. Apologies for that going black. This should resolve it, though, at least long enough for the first game, and then I'll sort it between game 1 and 2. But there we go. I finally have some hard drive space. Not much, but enough. And now we can focus on the game. So as we said, usually the way this works is the player in the center, the Rus player, will provide the economy. He'll be the one going to pro scouts. Remember, Rus players also get access to scouts very quickly because they build a hunting cabin and vavavoom, zuzuzum, they're off to it. And that should be the case on both sides. The Muslim might switch it up, though. He's in the south. He's very far away. Usually you want to have this player centralized or next to the player that needs the additional influx. And with this layout, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see Recon trying to provide the pro scouts, which he does get cheaper, mind you, remember. He doesn't get the double up of Mongols or the quicker timing of producing scouts that the Rus do, but you get them 20% faster at reduced costs via the School of Cavalry, and also the Pro Scouts research is 30% cheaper for you, right? And the reason it's important that Recon does this is because I don't want to see Beasty forking out for it early. Beasty's role in this format is to get high-tempo aggression out quickly and viscerally, right? And that means either having access to Magadai or access to a quick castle where you Lancer in. Either way, he's going to require an influx of food off of deer carcasses, which can be provided by the French player next to him. Meanwhile, early raids, 3DB. Already spamming a few scouts out, but he's just looking to yoink. I like this play, actually. Recon, it's too far away. Remember that France is infamous for greedy pocket economies. A pocket economy, for those that aren't aware, is when you choose to have a gathering point, right, like a berry bush or wood line, away from your primary base. It's very risky, and France is historically the civ that engages with it the most, right? Because usually they have a few extra villages to begin with, and usually they're the tempo setter, right? They bring out knights, they harass their opponents and push them back. But in this situation, forced off this line already, he will eventually get back to it, but it does nonetheless slow him down in the meantime. And I'm going to continue to just quickly cycle through and delete some more stuff. If someone on stream could just confirm, are you guys getting the starters as well? I don't tend to like break meta and talk with the stream when we're casting, but I just want to make sure it's not ruining your viewing experience, guys. As that is what is important to me. There we go, a bunch of crap's been deleted. Should be safe now. As we continue to Muslim right now, how many scouts is he up to? I believe only 4 right now. Needs to boost that a little bit further. Okay, looks like we got thumbs up. The stream's looking fantastic. Fantastic. I was hoping it wouldn't actually impede on you guys. So I'm just a crazy man nattering into a microphone, which is basically every day of the week for me. But yeah, Sub-Zero at this point, how many has he gone up to? I think he went a little bit higher, right? Yeah, he's up to 6 already. Now, this is a kind of commonly argued point. Is it 6 or 4 at this stage? Usually you want to get pro scouts, and by the time you have it, you want to be into your like 5th scout. It's different with Roost, remember, because the building that you get pro scouts out of is the building you get scouts out of. So you have to balance your choice. I like to say that immediately as soon as you are capped into the tech up, once you reach feudal and you have the resources, strike straight into pro scouts. Don't waste more time getting the scouts out. I don't care if you've only got 3 out in the field. It's important that you start gathering and immediately getting your bang for buck out of pro scouts. Otherwise, it doesn't matter that your opponent has more scouts than you. You're just going to be outpaced when you're lagging behind and unable to snipe. Because it's very hard to snipe out scouts running away right now. I do think pro scouts needs to be addressed. I think one thing that they could do is they could simply implement what exists in the single player, where when you pick up carcasses, you move slower. Because right now, if someone picks up carcasses, it's very difficult to take them away from them. And speaking of bringing them to him, Sub-Zero, he knows his role. He's like, I'm the team manager, and what I need to do is make sure I do everything to make my players succeed. That is what a good team manager does, and that's what he's doing here, as he's going to enable 3DB hardcore right now, dropping off so many deer carcasses. Did he get his own yet? Yeah, he has a few down already, so he's not sacrificed himself entirely. In the meantime, supervision over this is going to allow 3DB to build up a horseman army. Horsemen are pretty dominant, remember, if you get them out quick enough in a big enough number, because they move so fast at 1.88 across the battlefield. Let's see. So Recon, how is he doing right now? Oh, he's actually building into even more mills here. So just looking to get those lines fully constructed and underway. And I'm still getting paranoid about that lag. It really is ruining this first game. Like I said, apologies on that, guys. It's weird as well. We've been fine for like 6+ hours. Maybe I'm just making too many video files. Yes, goodbye Rainbow Six Siege. Is that even allowed? It is now. Right. Hopefully that gets me out of the red. It might just be that I need to like restart, but I'd rather not. So 3DB has got the mobility right now, backed up by Nikolai as well. Oh, and we're doing some weird stuff again. This is very weird. I'm tempted to say we do a restart from my end, but we'll stick it out. We'll see how it goes. I think it is starting to affect you guys a little bit, but fingers crossed it's not. I don't want this to just turn into a game where I spend the whole time worrying about tech issues, but we'll, either way, I'll like do a diagnostic. I'll run through everything between game 1 and 2, so we definitely won't have to have this discussion. Fingers crossed. For the time being, Beasty is actually setting the tempo here. So he actually went hard into the Magadai. Now, the Horseman usually would count this out, but Recon is positioning himself to guard. That's just his role. He's in on guard, which is fitting for the French player, right? All he has to do is move around with Beasty, and Beasty will be able to efficiently raid, and they can punish the other players. Oh. Yeah, my game is crapping itself. Funky. But yeah, Nikolai in the meantime having to back up. He's outnumbered right now. He's pinched as well, and he runs straight into them. Beastie's going to get great trades here. And here come the Horsemen. 3DB wrapping around the back. Knights need to engage. Recon, he switches over. He blocks most of them, but some of them leak through. Straight on top of Beastie. And Beastie, he already used the arrow. It's still on cooldown. Still back away. Trades are still good for Beastie, though. He's still in favor here. Has the number advantage over Nikolai. And it looks like things will calm down for the moment. I think we are still experiencing issues here. Very odd. Apologies, guys. I think I know what the problem could be. It's okay, I'll just cut part of this out in like post-editing. Yes. It's because I know what the problem is. It's because my disk is almost capped on the C drive. I just need to find a way. So, Beastie is regrouping. Recon actually looking to wrap with him onto the north side here. Nikolai is a little bit vulnerable, but on the home field with the Yam movement speed, he should be somewhat protected. The real big difference maker is 3DB went this hard into Horseman. This is actually really impressive. I wasn't sure how much this was going to pay off, but this is the right build. A lot of players try to go for Zhuge Nu, and it's so easy to counter, but this could easily work. Fight coming in. Nikolai, remember, he has the advantage here because that's the Yam movement speed. Beastie can be ran down, and the numbers are in his favor, and he goes. Attack rate coming out. I like that play by Beastie. He can't counter out on the movement speed, so he has to just try and get as many shots out as possible. Engagement's going to come in onto Recon. Recon is outnumbered. He actually can't trade favorably against this many Horsemen, despite having more damage per unit. And the amount of Magadai falling here, it looks like Nikolai is successfully going to repulse Beastie away from his base. And reinforcements have arrived. Sub-Zero now here as well. They're regrouping perfectly. And they have the mobility now. All cavalry, all locked in. This is the play that you needed out of China. In the meantime, 3DB, not locking himself into a tech up, doesn't want to be greedy. All he needs is Horseman for the moment, but he will need to transition down the line. But for the time being, look at the damage they're doing here. 10 damage per strike, and the Knights just can't handle it. One by one, they will be ran down, and one by one, they will fall. And this is the frustrating part when you play Knights against this, right? At any stage where you run away, you will be pursued. You will be picked off. You can't even get the heals in because the Horsemen move faster than your heavy cavalry. And on the north side, Nikolai, this is the other frustrating part. Remember, Magadai move at the same speed as the cavalry, right? As the heavy cavalry. So at any stage that you're caught running away and he's in range, he's always going to keep pace and he's going to snipe you down before you can heal. This is such a counter. So many layers to this counter exactly what Recon wants to do in this game. And it's targeted on purpose. Remember, Recon, he's the central player. The way it works on Dry Arabia is your central player is your greedy player. They're the one that gets a little bit more flexi room. It's interesting as well because 3DB, despite being the star player of this lineup, he stood himself on the southern side, right? He's not the central player. He gave more wiggle room for his Roost player to get that eco boom up without coming under any pressure. And the reason this is such a big deal with the central spot is you can't charge in because if you do, you get flanked on both sides. That's why that matters. But now look at this. They're running rampant. And Recon doesn't have the forces to defend himself. The Muslim hasn't got enough horse archers yet. He has to wait. Warrior Monk's moving in already. A little bit too early. They are now going to be target down. And here come the Horsemen. The Muslim in trouble, does bait attention away from the economy of Recon, but damage kind of already done here. He slowed everything down. And this really is, I mean, we have a name for this in the Dota land. We call it Defy Dota. This is Defy Age of Empires right now. This is what I want to see out of the CIS, boys. Blood, blood, and more blood. And with so many Horsemen, the outpost won't last long. Recon in a spot of bother and then some right now. He has been scaling up to 47, but the eco is going to start to bleed. And he's in the middle of a tech up as well. The Royal Institute is going to leave him with a lot of problems in his base soon. The Muslim trying to hold. Pushes them back for the moment. They need more Horsemen on the front, though. They've got them on the ropes, but now they need that knockout punch. Because if they don't, this might go 10 rounds. And 10 rounds with this castle up coming out from Recon could get him back in the game. Charge through. Nikolai arrives with the Magadai Enforce. And these Knights, they're in a bit of trouble. The upgrade hasn't gone through yet. Recon is still going to take him another 20 seconds, and he might lose the Knights at this rate. And that's why the Muslim pushes forward. Magadai count is in favor of the 3D clan, but they need a way to fully exploit this right now. And Recon. He's slow, but he's going to be ready in a sec. He's going to be vetted up. 3DB, he's going to be outclassed, so he needs to be careful. And they're baiting the engagement. They want him to come into Muslim so they can turn around the Knights. The Knights that are now in royal status, up to the veteran status, rather. And that'll scare him away. Wraparound coming in from Beasty QT on the flank in the meantime. No arrow to work with, but most of the Magadai are dead off to the back of that. And all of a sudden, you're starting to hemorrhage a lot of forces here. So many scouts on the front, but barely any horse archers and barely any Magadai. And with only horsemen, this is where it starts to backfire. 3DB, he's given up on everything here. He's fully invested. He's not teching up. It's just horsemen and horsemen alone. No secondary TC, no castle age. Simply 2 stables and a dream. And ground being given over still. And he can never turn around. Not with the Royal Knights threatening on the side. With this big superior booster in damage. Remember, with a charge, they were at 30 before. Now they're up at 38 and they have additional health as well. You can't trade them out as easily as you did before. You're going to need, what, I'd say about 6 to the 1 Knight to feel comfortable. Otherwise, it's going to run you through. Also, remember, if you get stuck in a charge on charge, these Royal Knights, they get a bonus damage for 3 seconds after that. So they will cleave through you like a hot knife through butter. And that's what they're doing to your economy. Right in. Snipes in onto the villager line. Big trouble right now. 3DB forced completely off the wood line. And his wood right now is getting a little bit low. His food is going to be stunned in a moment as well. They're wrapping in the meantime, look at this. The Muslim, he keeps Sub-Zero at bay, but he's outnumbered. He needs some assistance soon or they need to get out together. Knights engaging under the TC are finally going to back away. Chase is on, but Sub-Zero barely able to keep pace long enough to do some serious damage to the Muslim. And these Magadai need to be careful in their drive-by. Remember, the horse archers have superior range up at 4.5 compared to the 3.5. And another fight now going on. Nikolai rejoins the fray. Horse archers will trade them out very well, though. And Sub-Zero needs to utilize his number advantage quickly here. Looking to do so. The Muslim's going to sacrifice the horse archers. Turns around for a burst, and the horseman will run him through. And there's not enough Knights here. Recon has to cut his losses and get out, but he can't get out quick enough. The pace is too fast. He's matched on the retreat. They need to minimize casualties, which means they need to stick together. They are reinforcing, but it's being equaled out in the meantime by 3D. And it's moving straight towards their base as well. That's the problem. The pressure's going to be there soon. And they will look to box you in and snipe your economy. After all, you just done it to their star player, right? You just done it to B. They need to return that favor. B's eco down to 48. If we compared it to, say, the Muslim right now sitting up at 53. Those small dents add up. Mind you, the Chinese economy is more efficient, remember. They get a 20% additional gain on any drop-offs, right, when they supervise buildings. It's a very powerful element to China. And nothing is really comparing too hard until we look across at the Mongol players, which equal each other out, right? They're both up at Castle. They both have access to the step readout. But right now, they're both locked into veteran Magadai. There has been no transition because the transition leaves you weak. And if you show weakness in the center map, it will lead to a quick rush towards your base. And Beasty's had enough of this. He's moving the Deer Stone out. He's giving himself the edge. It's a gamble play, but you don't need it anymore, remember. The Yam movement speed is given over by any outpost nearby. So if you put an outpost down your base, you can get very risky with your Deer Stone location. And that edge could be the difference because right now, Nikolai is not doing the same. He's too slow. He hasn't even tried. He's sitting the Deer Stone back in base. It gets troops out quicker, but like I said, an outpost could do the same for him here. And all of a sudden, Beasty now with a staging point. Numbers starting to build. Horseman count up to 17. Remember, 2 of these players are only pushing out ranged units, which means those horsemen are getting their bonus damage. What you really need right now, if you're B, is an option to flexi up. If you could upgrade these into vet status, they would run through this army entirely because the Knights cannot spread wide enough to hold those horsemen back. But now you've got an issue. How do you reach these Magadai? With the Yam movement speed, it's 1.88 compared to 1.87. That is a diminishing difference. It's very hard to gap close now. And because BC can fire on the go, it's so easy for him to cruise through. And look at this fight. Saint's Blessing coming out. It's not a good trade for Nikolai. Nikolai caught out of position here. The wraparound's good. The Knights back up as they bait the Horsemen and half the Archers off. And now the Magadai from BC are in. They back up. Mangonel shots coming out. It's going to be a whiff. And now the Night Line will engage. They look straight onto the Horse Archers. They bait in the Horsemen, and now they can wrap around. Beasty Cutie has got the edge over his Mongol counterpart, but the big difference maker right now is Sub-Zero. Does have the Horse Archer count in his favor, and the Muslim not able to micro this efficiently. Is being sniped out one by one. Beasty Cutie now in trouble with that additional range on the Horse Archers, able to chase forward and pummel straight into his front line. And it looks like Sub-Zero is winning this fight on his own, with the double Mangonel surprising them. Out of a Ruse play, you wouldn't see this coming, especially when he's pushing this many Horse Archers. But it is the edge that gives them control of the center here and pushes Beasty and the boys back towards their base. And that means this is being sacrificed as well. The Deer Stone could be taken out at any point, but I like this out of B. He's not going to waste time on it, not much effort anyway. He needs to reinforce the front. He needs to be ready to match any sort of count that's going to come out of Recon in the melee, and more importantly, give himself that amassment to push past. Because the difference between these two economies right now is B is paying a lot less. He's getting a lot less quality, mind you, but he's paying half the price of a horseman, remember. One of these costs 140 food and 100 gold. The other one costs 100 food and 20 wood. That is a very big difference, and it means that 3DB should be able to very quickly double up if given enough time. The problem is he needs to continue scaling, and because he hasn't boomed up and he hasn't gone for a second TC, he's still locked into just 2 stables here. Nikolai starting to extend his influence. I like this. There hasn't been pressure on him. You should always do this. Outpost being dropped. And also going into the trade now. This is somewhat exposed. And look at this out of Beasty. A single villager out. He already knows what's up. I think he was trying... Yeah, he was trying to secure this for himself. He had the same intent. Oh, Mongol players really do think alike. And this mirror matchup between 2 of the civs, at least, on each side, kind of fits, right? They're playing very similar games, but the real big difference maker so far has been 3DB with this curveball of going hard into Horseman in this game. And still, after 20 minutes, sitting in Feudal willingly the entire time. Sub-Zero, it really is going to be his job to just stick them 20 feet under in this situation, because AV ain't good enough. He really is giving Muslim the cold shoulder right now. I mean, it's 36 to the 66. He's doubling him up, and he has the Mangonels. I do not see how you take this fight as Muslim. Muslim needs something else. Or his teammate needs to get something else. They need a curveball. They need an extra element to layer in here. I think it has to come out of Beasty. Beasty has to be providing the siege weapons right now. He's the difference maker, right? That siege that's being provided by the Roost player is strong, sure. But if the Mongol isn't doing it as well, it means if they ever lose the siege weapons, they can't replenish them in the field easily. Meanwhile, if you dedicate yourself into like some sort of composite of infantry, you're going to be able to actually build the siege weapons on the go. The problem is that right now, both of these Mongol players are neglecting that ability. They're both going hard into cavalry, which means that the siege advantage is always going to be with Sub-Zero on the side of 3D. Raids coming in. Beasty revealing his hand quite early, has started to transition into the Lancers. Lancers that have not yet been matched by Nikolai. Nikolai is a little bit exposed in that regard. He's still dedicating himself fully into the Magadai. So Lancers could be the edge, but the issue is Beasty still has the gap close. And you're now starting to fight into your opponent's Mongol territory, right? Where he's got the outpost down and he's able to actually get that boost at all times. And that's why he needs to keep this alive. I like that he's brought this back. Beasty able to draw his Deer Stone all the way back to base, can repair it up and then station it for an extra assault. Meanwhile in the center, Mangonels forcing him away. Muslim, oh no! That's a full retreat, but look at this! Sub-Zero! His horses surf as they fire. They never stop as they unleash the arrows. And that's going to force the engagement. Recon fully invested. Reinforcements have arrived from the north. Both Mongol players getting involved in this cluster truck in the center of the battlefield. And the difference maker really isn't B anymore. This horseman army is being decimated. And now the Knights riding straight through on top of Sub-Zero. The wraparound round the back from Beasty, cutting them off from running away. And now they have to stand and fight. The frontal army is recovering. The Muslim with a decent amount of horse archers remaining. And look at this. It's a surrounding right now. You can pick this right out of a setting between the Native Americans and the Cowboys. Surrounded, being roamed around on each side. Caroused into the center, but they hold and they push back. And with barely any horse archers left, they cannot rely on Muslim to see this out. Once again, Sub-Zero will hold. He does lose the Mangonels, and it does even up. And that means it is a good fight right now for Beasty and boys. But they can't afford to lose the rest of their army. And right now, Muslim's kind of doing that. He's trading out well at the moment. And look what he's forced out of Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero started... Okay, I think it's an accident. Thank God. I was about to say, if he started building archers in this situation, you're losing the game. A straggler archer had me baited for a second there. This is Timothy. Timothy is... he's doing one of those programs where, you know, take your son to work day. So, Johnny... His dad decided to bring Timmy to work to show him what life is like as an archer, but he's not allowed to ride horses because that's dangerous for kids. And all this pressure in the front does yield some rewards. Recon now able to extend his influence to the center of the map where he's gathering a lot of gold, much needed gold in fact. No signs of tech ups coming out anywhere. Still also B not teching up. continues to expand the field. So there is a lot of exposed economy if he ever gets rode into. But that's the gamble right now. 3D, playing for the win, not for the survival. If they ever get forced back to B's base, the game is probably over already. So they just play front and center constantly, keeping pressure on all eyes towards that central dip in the map where nobody can instantly flip it into a base raid. Speaking of attempting base raids, though, Beasty moving through. Spiral defense is coming out, burning down the outpost, and this is one big problem. You could kind of handle the French Knights. It's insane to say, but with just Magadai, Horse Archers, and the Horsemen as well. But when Beasty adds the Lancers into the mix, now you're suffering. You need a switch over, and it's finally coming, but it's very delayed. Nikolai now going into 5 stables to spam out the Lancers. Things very calm in Muslim base. I don't think he knows what war is on the home field. These people have a prosperous life full of farmlands. And he's in a similar situation, right? If he ever gets exposed, he's probably out of the game. They're over. They've lost the Horse Archer advantage. And Horse Archers really are just broken right now, so they're a difference maker. Meanwhile, the way that Sub-Zero has built, he's more condensed, he's less exposed. Although it does mean if any sort of cluster attack comes in, which cuts you off, your whole economy is just sitting here, right? Practically all of it, in fact. So you do need to be careful about that. That could take you out of the game much quicker than you could take the Muslim out of the game, where although he's got a lot of spread and exposed economy, it is spread at least, right? And B, finally up into the Castle Age. This has to be one of the latest, if not the latest Castle Age time I think I've seen the 3v3s. Now he has access to the Clock Tower. He can start to bring in siege weapons as well. And these Nesta Bees, well, they're fitting for this lad. It is in his name, and they could dominate this game. But he might be hesitant. Up against the Lancers now, the transition harder into heavy cavalry gives you less value compared to 5 minutes ago when you're up against Magadai and Horse Archers at every turn. But he does need some switch up. And it might be that he switches over to Fire Lancers now. Fire Lancers could break your opponents. But he needs to keep hoarding. And he's doing exactly that. Yeah, look at the food. Gold going up as well. More people on the line. This is an intent to go straight into Fire Lancers as soon as you get an opportunity. It's a nice transition as well. Easily switching over from the Horsemen. Don't have to waste time waiting on upgrades either. And of course, those Fire Lancers with the spread damage are going to be beautiful against anything. They don't need that bonus damage that the Horsemen do against ranged. They just do enough damage out of the box. Nice little raid in. That's that exposed economy we were talking about. The Muslim, greedy boy. Will force the villagers back to base. Might lose 1 or 2 more, but the Horsemen will then be picked apart by the Horse Archers spawning. That's just a distraction. The cool thing about this is it baits attention, right? The Muslim is now trying to micro on multiple fronts, and you could exploit that, right? If you send in these small raids and you distract your opponents, you can take a big fight and a big win off of one small misstep out of one of these players. The Muslim is definitely pressuring hard right now. Nikolai holding his own for the moment. Sacred Site control is in their favor. Actually, oh no, I missed the timer, didn't I? No, they can't quite get this. I haven't missed the timer. The timer is about to tick up. So they are going to get access to this. It'll be a win condition. But they need to hold it for 10 minutes. And 10 minutes is not going to be easy. In fact, nope, they still haven't capped it. Wait, oh, he sniped out the Warrior Monk. Okay, there we go. He brings in a new one. Okay, there we go. So 27:30 is the timer. Apologies, my scuffed production means I have to do it like this. There you go. They've triggered it. But it's a lot of open ground to protect. All the tension is in the north right now, and they move in. Here they come. Scouts leading the way. The cannon fodder to try and block out any counter charge. Also to just bait the fire of the Mangonels. And wrap in. Their own Mangonels coming in. Going in deep right now. Beasty in with a shot. It's going to be a bit of a whiff. Follow-up is okay, and they burn the exposed Mangonels straight away. Sub-Zero is losing his siege army quickly here. And they have the edge. They push in. They zerg over them. They're forcing them back. Mangonels riding forward. Remember, they got the Yam speed. There's 4 here. This switch over, this transition out of Beasty is so unexpected because he already went to the Fire Lancers. And now, with his 3rd transition, he gives them the edge to push back against 3D. And they will ride deep and fast. And look how close Nikolai's base is. There's only so much ground you can give over here. They continue to give pursuit. Sticking on top of him, the Magadai with the Yam movement speed, able to just stick to these Horse Archers like glue. They'll retreat away, but here come the Mangonels. In the meantime, they're going to burn down the Deer Stone on the front. Sacred Site should soon be decapped, and they are going to push in 5 Mangonels. How do you contest this? Well, you can't contest it with your Mongol player. Your Mongol player, he never actually invested into the improved siege engineering. He can't get the Springles out, and now you're in trouble. That dedication, that realization that getting rid of the Mangonels gives you control of the fights is exactly why 3D Clan is on the edge of being eliminated. Or not eliminated, rather, but beaten in Game 1. These guys have looked on top of the world in Dry Arabia. The small differences, the understanding, the synchronicity, giving them the edge. And now, all of a sudden, B in with a Hail Mary, trying to get through the Mangonel fleet. He's only got half of them so far, though, and he's been wrapped on. There's not enough horsemen here. He can't do it. The Mangonel edge is still there for Beasty, and even if he got through this, he can just build them on the front. He's probably got more troopers coming out right now. In fact, he's pushing them from his base. He never even invested in anything. It was just siege workshops all along. But the Yam movement speed deceives you. It allows him to get across the map so quickly, and it means they're now into the Mongol base. Beasty, like a character out of Highlander, says there can be only one. And Nikolai says he wants to be one with the universe. He doesn't need these trivial things, material things such as a body. Take it away from him. Because all of his villagers are dying. They're all hiding in their homes. And those homes will soon crumble. Reinforcements have not yet arrived and probably never will. But still, they hold on. On that decap, we can say bye to the sacred site. That's not going to trigger anymore. Primary TC exposed. They're waiting to reinforce, but where are those reinforcements? It looks like instead they're counterattacking. They're going in, the Fire Lancers, into the Muslims' economy. They're going to counterattack and try to boot the Muslim out of this game as well. The trade, it's the only option left. Nikolai will delay them as long as possible. And with an army mainly made up of archers and Mangonels, it's not the quickest siege to get through the primary TC. Meanwhile, look at the damage done by 3D. B is in. The TC is going to burn. Next up, the Abbey of Trinity. Even less tanky than the previous, and he has to all in. He has to stop this right now. Sub-Zero arriving with reinforcements to counter out the Muslim. The Fire Lancers getting through the Abbey of Trinity. One more volley will set it on fire, and one more will put it in the ground, and straight across onto the Golden Gate. But there's not many left. He's being sniped out too quickly. Reinforcements have arrived. Recon is in. He counters out the charge, and B will be denied at the final throw here. Not able to get through the Golden Gate. And in the north, the assault continues. Not much left here. Look at the crawl away. Nikolai hiding the step readout far away from base is not out of this yet. But his economy is going to be in the sinker, and his whole military line is going to be sunk. 3DB has that mobility advantage to disengage, but he was not able to end it there. And the Muslim will have time to rebuild, to become a thriving economy once more. And with Recon in position now, B might be the next front line. Beasty wrapping around. He's not going to spot this, though. He just misses it. He has not found that step readout just yet, but they have burnt everything to cinders in the base of Nikolai. And instead now they will raid into the Sub-Zero. They snipe into his economy from the north. Meanwhile, Sub-Zero has to commit. They need the Muslim out of this game if they stand a chance, but they just can't do it. B is going to lose the Fire Lancers again as they ride in one by one. And although there's not enough wood to rebuild this Abbey of Trinity yet, most of the damage has been offset, and now you are in dire tides as the 3D clan. Because they are running rampant, in with the Mongols, in with the French, into the economy of Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero, let's watch that number decrease down to 10 eco units, 10 measly villages left. How the hell do you ever sustain this? It's all on B. He's the last man standing. And Sub-Zero, once this army is gone, his count will be to 0, where it will remain, and the name will become appropriate. And what they attempted on the Muslim, they will return in reflection upon the other Rus player, as it will not be Fire Lancers, but Lancers riding into Green's base and getting through that primary TC. And remember, it's the same case on this side, all the landmarks clustered together. You're about to lose your first player, because all this while, Nikolai has miraculously hung in there. But to what end? What's your achievement here? He tried to distract him as best he could, but they're finally in on a Sub-Zero, and they will not let up. And walls now going down. Recon says, woof, that was too close. Fire Lancers would burn through your palisades quickly, my friend, so instead I will wall around so you do not have to worry about being sieged out, the Muslim. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Beasty, in the meantime, he didn't keep up the network, so he's going to be chased down a little bit here. The Fire Lancers are fairly fast, but there's really not enough of them. And this is a distraction. Look what's prepping in the south. There are so many Horse Archers here. 81. He's practically capped at this stage. In fact, if I look across at the Muslim, he can't be far away. 172. He would have been there if it wasn't for the amount of villages he lost, but he's sitting that golden number of 69 eco units. So I guess you're winning in that regard. And now the Mangonels roll out. And they found him. It's the end of the road. He tried his hardest, but 2 landmarks down, a third to fall. Nikolai, this will be the slowest escape ever attempted. I wouldn't call it a high-speed pursuit, necessarily. It'll be a long-ass pursuit, though, because it takes ages to burn it down. But Nikolai is about to be out of this game. Not that it's really been changing anything for the last few minutes, because it has been 2 versus 3 this whole time. And now the Mangonels in on the economy. 3DB not going to be able to maintain this much longer. Lancers and the Knights charging deeper once more, this time targeting the Chinese player over the Rus player. I mean, Russians are appropriate. They are all Russians here. But they are the ones now being rushed. And they will reconvene for a team meeting in the base of B. Nikolai has been eliminated. Beasty will crack it up into Imperial Age, and everything must go. It is a fire sale in 3DB's base. And although he will not tap out, although he will hang around until the last moment, it is looking like there's not much left to hang around for. No cute raids coming out anymore, no exposed economy. These front walls out of recon, perfect to buffer off any attempt. And 3DB, although he'll try and wrap in, and he'll try to again snipe someone out on the back front as we almost get crashed by this load of Fire Lancers. It's not going to be quick enough. He's going to be shut out quicker. Landmarks are falling. Imperial Palace is next on the hit list. Barking the Sun is already down. Astronomical Clock Tower being raised by scouts in the meantime. The primary TC being targeted. He's got nothing left. And the Muslim keeping Sub-Zero's army away means they can't slow him down. And that's going to be it. There's nothing left. B, I respect it. Time and time again, the gambits, it almost pays off. Imagine this game if the Muslim is not there. Imagine the even up there where maybe him and Sub-Zero have a way back in, but it was not to be. And here on Dry Arabia, the established meta of France, Rus, and Mongols will reign supreme as Game 1 will go the way of Beasty and the Straelboraas. It's time. We finally arrived. This could be the final game of the AoE4 Pro League qualifiers, and we're about to get underway. Game 1 went the way of Beasty and the Straelboraas. It was hard fought for, though. The 3D clan did not give a foot of ground without blood being spilled, and they are going to need to do exactly that as we get into Game 2, and it's not going to be Hill and Dale. That's not happening. 3DB says, nah, that's boring. Everyone does that. We're going to mix it up. We are going across to Danube River for what could possibly be the final game of the qualifiers here. And, well, we have got some similarities on both sides. HRE and Delhi. Some greedy boyism coming out, but the difference maker here. Look at this. Nikolai. Because they did not use France in Game 1, they will whip it out in Game 2. But vice versa, because China was used in Game 1 by 3DB. It will be BC now, the only one reigning supreme as the economical powerhouse. And this economical powerhouse can become a spooky military force quickly. You're talking about a water hybrid map where they have the best ships, right? Only matched by Mongols with Warjunks and the Baoshuan. And more important than that, Beasty, I didn't mention Mongols by accident. I mentioned it for a specific reason. And the reason is that he plays the Chinese like the Mongols. I'm not joking. We watched this lad just yesterday drop a forward Barbican of the Sun next to his opponent's base and then outpost wall them in. And then siege them in later. And he could play like that because remember, his teammates are playing HRE and Delhi. These can be two very greedy civs when you think about it, right? HRE is obvious, but Delhi as well. They're looking for that castle age timing. And Beasty is fully willing to sacrifice and end the game in feudal as China, which is just unheard of for most players, right? You'd never expect China to end the game in feudal if it goes in their favor. But he's the type of player that could do it. And that's why I'm buzzing for it. So Scout's already getting eyeballs on the problems. Doc has been dropped. This might suggest that there won't be that kind of Barbican of the Sun being dropped aggressively, but he still could make that move with his villager as he moves forward. But it looks like it's going to be prevented. Recon says, no, we're not going to go that fast. We're going to buy some time. We're going to respect the fact that France is on the other side. We do not want to get rushed, and that is fair. Meanwhile, fishing boats now starting to come out. And these fishing boats are going to try to dictate the flow. The person who's going to have the edge is the one that first moves out to this crossing. You want to wall this off. Remember, if you wall it across like this instead of along the river, you're able to block boats. And that's a big deal against the Delhi spam, because Delhi early on, they want to group up 6 or 7 of the fishing boats and then rush you along the river. The problem with them, of course, is they ended up doing 1 damage every almost 2 seconds with these arrows because of the resistance on a palisade. And there's definitely multiple civs that could actually block that off, right? Like, you could send Recon if you drop a Rax and get a Spearman or 2. Also, China, really great for that because they build the walls twice as quickly as everyone else. But for the moment, they're just going to chill. They're not too pressured. I think we should probably talk about win conditions, right? Because although these are similar civs, they have different end goals because of the 1 civ variable. So when it comes to the 3D clan, their goal is to really try and manipulate the map and look for raiding power around like the 50-minute mark. The whole concept being Nikolai is going to cover the tech up that comes out from Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero around the 15-minute mark should have a small contingent of knights to join him. After that, that's when 3DB comes in the fold. He'll be looking to move across the central island and setting up these walls after he hits the compounded defender. And then he'll look to control and choke them on the center, and that will give them a staging point to get rid of the food economy and then breach into the main line of Beasty and the Straelboraas. On the other side, it's a little bit more flexy and a little bit more potentially greedy. Because Beasty hasn't actually ran out to drop a forward Barbican yet, it looks like he's going to give himself flex to boom up. He has gone on the water, and he will scale on the food economy really well here. Remember, Chinese docks work 20% faster, so they actually build out that fishing fleet quicker. And they're able to sustain that increase in production rate courtesy of this detail that we aren't seeing right now, actually, which is weird. Imperial officials, though. That's what you can do. If you ever feel like you're going to be curbed on the wood, you bring out an Imperial official, they oversee the production on the lumber camp, and you get an extra 20% drop-off. So Beasty's timing is around Castle. He wants to crack Castle, get 1 or 2 war junks out, control the straits, and then push forward before they give that edge where 3DB takes control of Center Lake. Or Center Island, rather. And that's similar for them, right? That's a similar goal to be achieved. Recon will then also get access to that Center Island, and then they'll have a staging point. And that staging point is going to be very important for both HRE players, because you want to have that access to the Center Island where you can drop forward siege workshops and racks and then raid into your opponent's economy. So this game is very likely to be decided by this central island. And this central island's access is going to be decided by China's choice. If this is a hard press into the Castle Age and 3 or 4 war junks come out, Beasty will very quickly choke out control of this area. And that is when you have to go back to the drawing board and you have to go on these long raids as the 3D clan, because you have to wrap all the way to the south. And that takes double the time to get into the economies of the HRE and the Delhi player that you're expecting to be that little bit greedier as we move past Castle. Openings, no deviations at all. B is going to be late on his tech up, but that's because he's scaling the fleet in the meantime, right? He's getting plenty of these fishing boats out. In fact, has he? No, he hasn't even gone up to a second dock yet. He could probably sustain it soon. Doesn't want to go too quick, though. I think on the other side, the HRE could have went up, though. I think the only reason Muslim hasn't scaled into a second dock is because he doesn't want to absorb all of the food front here. He wants to divvy up evenly between the players. Remember that the HRE is actually probably the most capable civ of supporting 2 docks at the fastest timing, right? Due to the fact that the Prelate makes their economy 40% more efficient with the inspiration, as well as giving them the extra 40% capacity, which makes them more like a 45% to 50% efficiency, depending on how far away your drop-off point is. It means that you're able to actually get enough wood into your bank to support not only the building of a second dock, but also the push out of fishing boats from 2. And that will actually scale you much better when you reach that 12 to 20-minute timer. I just don't think that the Muslim wants to double down on that. The reason being is that there's another HRE player in the game. So his paranoia is telling him, okay, if I spend too long scaling my economy on the water now, I might get bitten on the arse on the relic count, right? Because remember, there's a finite amount of relics on the map. In fact, there is 7, I believe it is. Sorry, 8. Yes, there's 8 available. And luckily for him, a lot of them are beautifully placed for the Muslim. Look at this. You've got one here. There's another one over here, which is pretty safe. And there's a third one here. This is an absurdly good generation for them, actually. 3D Clan kind of got scammed here, right? all of your close-by relics are on the central island, and then you have to go south for the rest. There are none in the back here. This is really frustrating. If you were to see this generation, you wouldn't feel like this is 100% fair. I'm looking at other edges they potentially have, and I don't really see them. Gold veins seem mostly even. The central gold veins are more pivoted towards them slightly. But unless I go through this and comb through this like piece by piece in detail on a 5-minute pause and rack up points on each side, I would just say, going off the guesstimation, like Beasty and the boys got the golden tier spawn, and 3D Clan kind of got sold out a bit. The good news for them, at least, is that they have this variable, right? The French Knights being out so early should allow them to prowl around and snipe out a lot of attempts by the Muslims to gather up prelates. So it's really going to be on Beasty or on Recon to provide the defenses. And I think, yeah, it's going to be Recon. I like this play. So Recon, of course, he gets the double value out of spamming spears here. Not only are they going to be able to defend the prelates as they collect up the relics against the French cavalry, but they're also going to be able to wall off sections and guard areas, and then later on, they're just your build force to get up your stone walls when you get compounded defender. So really cool play there. Hasn't been matched on the other side. No, instead it's going to be stables being dropped. So, wow, B, this is unorthodox. I think he's playing into Pro Scouts. He is. He already got research. He's halfway towards wheelbarrow already. Because remember, you get good value. It just takes longer because the Delhi, they don't pay for their researchers, but of course it takes longer by default unless you juice it up with the mosques full of scholars. So he didn't spend that hefty price out of his early economy. Because remember, Pro Scouts, which, by the way, has been taken by Sub-Zero as well. I'm not the biggest fan of that. And it's being taken... Wow. It's being taken over here as well. Oh, no, sorry. That's fine. Ignore that. That is actually 3DB. I was getting confused for a sec there. So, yeah, he's researching here. This is a cool play, though. I like this. So he actually came out. He dedicated a villager to building a mill here to increase this berry supply from being a 1,500 food source to a 3,000 food source. This is an underrated play that not enough players do. It's going to sustain Nikolai safely next to his base for a lot longer, and he doesn't have to invest as heavily into the waterfront to get bang for buck to push out the knights. And if he ever loses his fishing fleet, he now has a fallback plan. This is so cool. And I don't know if it's been done the same on the other side. Let's have a look. No, I don't think so. Wall play is going to come out. Deters them away. It's only scouts, though. This is not good enough, and that means Recon will protect him. So I don't think there was any similar play made. That's kind of a missed opportunity. I understand why, though. I think it's quite far to reach to go do that, to bring people out your economy, unless you have another use for the villager afterwards, right? And I don't really think that 3DB did, so he probably dropped this mill and then ran all the way back. The one good thing for him that it can make it good for Delhi to do compared to like Abbasids is, of course, these are independent research buildings, right? So you're able to extract something that you usually wouldn't get because it would be hidden behind you prioritizing wheelbarrow and, say, horticulture. Meanwhile, Scout Army, oh good lord, Sub-Zero, what? Now, this isn't about Pro Scouts anymore. This is about something more. This is a rush play, but he's doing it alone right now. No one else is backing this up. He's sacrificing his game somewhat. And he's meant to be the boomer, right? He's HRE in this situation, so he should be the one scaling up quickly into Castle and Imperial. And he's doing this because he sees that the Muslim went for Castle. So he understands he's on the clock, but he understands that the Muslim isn't hanging around and countering him out. However, the Muslim is already bringing out the Knights. And this is not quick enough. Look how many of them are dead already. This is a failed attempt by Sub-Zero. It is not valuable. The amount of scouts that he invested into here. This had to be what? 30? Close to 30? And they cost 60 food each. Sub-Zero, that is your castle age timing right there. You just sacrificed it entirely, and Nikolai was not here in time. They didn't sync it up. And that's the problem. Enough knights are here to count you out. Even if you set fire to the Barbic of the Sun, what's your end goal? What do you achieve? And I love this out of the Muslim. He's like, okay, I'll walk out, I'll wall off. If it works, great. If it doesn't, whoop-de-doo. Everything is here. Even the villagers from Nikolai. They're going to cut their losses now. They're going to try to grab as many deer and get out. They're going to get 1 or 2 before they're going to be forced away by the spears. And Nikolai, non-stop, just both of them. Meanwhile, what is B doing? B's doing it as well! Oh my god, they're all doing it. It's a trip scout rush, but they're too staggered. They're giving way too much time over. Beasty and the boys are going to be ready for this. I say that, they're being scared at the moment, but the spears are coming out in mass. Beasty dropping 3 Raxes and supervising one of them. Knights coming out in the meantime from the Muslim to keep pace and do maximum damage when they reach the scouts. And oh boy, This is not working. This is a problem. And you can't reset. You can't calm down. You can never slow down. You're all in now. With all three of you investing into the scouts and no one teching up, there is no wiggle room anymore. And the player that mattered most here was this, Beasty. These walls, he anticipated something wasn't right. He prepped for it. They are all walled in. This is the only point you can get through. And once this choke point is locked in with Spearman, you no longer have access. Nikolai, I love the play with the palisades to block him from walling this off, but you just didn't have the follow through. They jumped like this because they were out of position and they were out of time. If they waited any longer, they would have wasted so much value into the scout investment already, and they would have no value for it due to the fact stone walls would have went up. But it doesn't stop there. They're never able to get through. They're never able to fully capitalize on this. In the end, that heavy investment only gets them a Barbican the Sun, forces an investment into Spearman, which counters you out entirely, and will give them enough time to complete the walls here for China. And China, well, they'll hold. You have no choice. You have to fight him here. You have to get through. You can't wait anymore. If you do not put some damage in the economy, some damage somewhere, then you're done. Because you know you're going to be outscaled. Recon is now up in Castle as well. BC is the only one unable to crack it right now, but he has a secondary TC, so he's scaling in different ways. And these Spearmen are about to finish it off. Recon now dropping stone walls to pad them here, which he can do with the Spearmen. And this, I mean, this is one hell of a Hail Mary, but they've done it. They've left. Nikolai will tap out, GG will be called, and we will end very quickly with the last series of day 2 of the qualifiers. It looks like we have got our final participant in the main event, and it will be BC and the Straelboraas. 3DB and his lads, they gave it their all. Game 1 was definitely competitive, but Game 2... they got spotted out. I think the real credit here as well is I believe there was some scouting coming out from Beasty or one of the other lads. They got eyeballs on this early. So they preemptively started walling up, and that applied the pressure that forced the 3D clan to go in staggered, right? First of all, you saw Sub-Zero right in. Then Nikolai follows up, and finally B arrives. They needed another about half a minute to a minute. But they're on the clock, right? The walls are going up. The choke point is closing. And once the stone walls are in place, the scouts are worthless. You can't even look to dock and then move them across via transport ships because your opponent is China. He has a Barbican the Sun located on the docklands, and then he's close to being in Castle where he'll have war junks that will sink you. So overall, this was the gamble. And it did not pay off. They chose Danube, by the way. They knew that this was the map they wanted to try this on. And I think this is the type of play that maybe you make on, say, Dry Arabia. Maybe even Highview. But to gamble this type of play on Danube River, where you already have that natural choke point of the river crossing, and then you only have to have this divide point between trees, which we saw Beastie cover, it's so much harder to execute. I think they misplayed. I think they had the map choice, so they could have went with Highview. I think Highview definitely would have had a better chance of this pulling off, but it's still a gamble. And it's a gamble we've actually seen attempted against the Beastie Bros before, and it failed that time as well. The last people to attempt it didn't invest as hard, but they were more, shall we say, synced up, right? They came in with 2 players instead of 3, but they came in together. And yes, those walls were most definitely clutch from Beastie. Really good call from him to get those down, and nice spam out of the spears, understanding that so much has been invested in these scouts at that point that it's not hurting you to go back for spears. It's actually winning you the game. And I like that the 3D clan didn't waste any time. They understood it was over. They have a laugh. They're impressed they got this far, and I think they should be impressed. I mean, these other 2 players in the mix, so both Nikolai Vasilievich Gogol, which isn't his proper name. I believe his proper name, if I recall correctly, was Garnov. Yes, Garnov. And then Sub-Zero, I think. So Sub-Zero, I think, was top 200. Garnov was top 300. And they were apparently a friend of B's and the team manager. So this wasn't them fielding a full competitive team of people that have been at tournaments before, right? B is kind of standing above them in that regard. Not above them, but, you know, he's obviously got those accolades. And they're going up against a fairly decorated team, right? Beastie and DeMuslim have a long history in StarCraft, actually doing pretty well over the years, and also right now dominating on the leaderboards. Meanwhile, rounding out Recon, a player that is showing a lot of promise, and I promise you that's not just the Brit inside me speaking. I think this kid's going to go places, especially with recently cracking multiple counts into that top 50 on the leaderboards. This team was stacked. This type of gamble play is risky, but it's kind of all you've got, especially the way you got outclassed when you went long-term in Game 1. So really well played by 3DB and his lads. I think they kind of got as far as they maybe expected to in this situation. It was always going to be a challenge when you got round to the round of 16, because that's when we start to like weed out the amateur teams or the recently come together ones. You get into the specialist teams, but that does mean we're coming to a close, guys, and it will end with Beasty and the Straelboraas making it through and qualifying for the $20,000 tournament, which is going to go on in just a few days. So we don't have to wait too long. I think it's about a day or two break, and then we get back for that. But if you did enjoy what you saw here, make sure that you go across the YouTube side and subscribe. If you missed any series, they will be uploaded over the next few days. And also make sure you follow on this channel as well as follow me on Twitter to know when I'm live. And also the Twitter side, that tells you when I'm going to be away at events, because I do work in multiple games, not just Age of Empires. But guys, it has been a pleasure. I'm not going to wait around too long with this. I think, you know, this stream's been going on a while. I'm going to give my throat a little bit of a rest. I've got to get these videos ready for encoding. There's so much to upload. We've got 4 best of 3s, and all of them are gems in their own right. So I will look to get them uploaded tonight, or at least a few of them, or encoded at least. But yes, thank you for tuning, guys. I've been overwhelmed by the support. Really big shout out to Nilly for giving the host at the beginning of the stream, which snowballed this. And welcome to all the new faces. Hopefully you hang around. Hopefully you enjoy more Age of Empires with me. But it's been a pleasure and a privilege. I'm going to close out there. Thank you for watching. You have a good night. And hopefully I'll catch you again very soon. But until then, you stay safe, you stay smooth. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.